So as I was wearing this watch, every once in a while I would just kind of start glancing down at my wrist, completely distracted from the task at hand, guys. It's one of those. It's one of those. Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we have another daily driver test video. Now this is a series where I wear watches that you guys suggest as daily drivers, and then I rate them in different categories such as design, wear experience, movement, and legibility. And at the end I add all the totals and then I give it a daily driver rating. Now this time we have the Seiko PRESAGE SRPB43, aka the Skydiving Cocktail Time. Originally these watches were introduced back in 2010 with the Seiko SARB line, which is actually like a legendary Seiko line. And the design was influenced by one of Japan's and probably one of the world's greatest bartenders, Shinobu Ishigaki. So he's the one to thank for that amazing dial texture that's made these watches so famous. His goal was to express the nuances you'd find in a perfectly crafted drink. Now the original cocktail times were actually named after drink flavors like dry or sweet, and this particular watch was originally called the Cocktail Time Cool. When Seiko reintroduced the watches with the PRESAGE line, they wanted to make that connection with cocktails more explicit, so they named the watches directly after cocktails like Martini or Manhattan. Anyway, let's go through all the scores together, starting with the design, specifically the dimensions. Case size of 40.5 millimeters. We have a lug to lug of 47 millimeters, pretty nice. Thickness of about 12 millimeters. And a lug width of 20 millimeters. So anyway, dimension scores 4.2 out of 5. Now these are very modern dimensions for a dress watch. Typically you would see a dress watch more on the like 38 millimeter case size kind of side of things. 40.5 millimeter case diameter, that's probably the most I would do personally for a dress watch. But again, that's just kind of my preference. Now I do think that this will fit the vast majority of people quite well. From what I know, they do have a 38 millimeter options for some other cocktail times, but this particular skydiving model, they don't really have that. So this right here is what it looks like on a 7-inch wrist. Looks pretty good. And then this is what it would look like on a 6.5-inch wrist, just in case if you were wondering about that 40 millimeter case diameter. A lot of that thickness is coming from the domed crystal rather than the actual case itself. It might not slide under a cuff gracefully, but I mean, is that even still a thing? Okay, now let's talk about the case shape and finish, which I gave a 5 out of 5. That's perfect. Very classic, rounded case here. Complete hallmark for dress watches. You have the slim lugs, high polished finish all around the case. Honestly, it's beautifully done, and I don't really think Seiko was trying to do anything fancy here to take away focus from the dial. It's not overly complicated or sporty. Rather, it prioritizes this classic elegance, and honestly, it has a polished presence on the wrist. It's kind of the best way I can describe it. I think the word we're looking for here is shiny. Okay, and then finally, let's talk about the crown. I gave it a 4.7 out of 5. It's really good. Signed with that Seiko S, a little squiggly line there. Not a screw down crown, obviously. It has this sort of like kind of cupcake shape, I guess is how I would describe it, and it looks fairly big, but I actually like the size in proportion to the watch itself. The only thing is that if you can tell here, there's kind of like a little gap between the crown and then the actual watch itself. It's not really a big deal. It's just one of those things that when you notice, it's kind of hard to unnotice. So I just kept staring at that every once in a while. Okay, now for the strap or the bracelet score, I guess I gave this a 3 out of 5. Honestly, that's being really generous here. This watch comes with a leather strap and a deployant style buckle. I mean, where do I even start with this? Seiko, this watch deserves better from you guys. In terms of quality and feel, it just kind of feels like a $10 genuine leather strap from Amazon. Someone plasticky It's really not supple at all. The good news is that the Cocktail has that standard 20mm lug width, so it makes it incredibly easy to swap out for any aftermarket strap. All right, and now for the crystal and dial. Starting with the crystal, I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. That's pretty good. Crystal is not sapphire, but Seiko Hardlex. And again, it's domed, which is really important because it really allows that light to get into the dial, which is exactly what makes the aesthetic so playful on this watch. I really wish that at this price point, Seiko would start giving us more sapphire crystals, but I honestly just don't think that that's going to happen at all. Those days are gone, lads. Those days are gone. All right, now let's talk about the dial. 5 out of 5. Perfect. Clearly the star of the show here. And now I'm going to share with you the secret sauce as to why these dials are so stunning. So obviously your boy did his research. I'm not going to add that. That's so lame. Seiko uses a 3-step process. It starts with the brass material of the dial itself. Seiko applies a radial pattern by pressing a mold onto the metal. That's what's giving the dial that sunburst effect. And then step number 2 is to create brush marks on the top layer of the dial to create those smaller grooves, which really enhances that radiant effect. And then finally, the dial goes through a process called clear lapping, which is a thick type of translucent paint that's applied to the dial and then later polished to give it that glass-like appearance. Now, looking at everything through the distortion of the box-shaped crystal, those patterns really, they just start to become so vivid, especially as they play with the light. And then taking a closer look at some of the design elements, you have these polished Delphine hands which add to that elegance. You have applied hour markers which, according to Seiko, are actually meant to resemble shards of ice. Pretty cool. And the famous Presage seconds hands, which is actually inspired by a bar spoon muddler. I know that we all like to say it looks like a needle. To be honest, I actually prefer that more than a muddler. But anyway, it adds a nice pop of color just to tie everything together. Date wheel at the 3 o'clock, and honestly, it doesn't bother me. At first, I wanted this watch to have a no date, but I mean, as I was wearing it, I actually didn't really notice the date at all unless I was being intentional about it and like looking for it. Now, this particular watch retails for about $390. Link in the description if you're interested and you want to support the channel. All right, now moving on to the wear experience, guys. Starting with the comfort, I gave this watch a 5 out of 5. Put this watch on, super lightweight. I think the lugs on this watch in particular are some of the best that we've seen from Seiko. They curve down beautifully, they hug the wrist, it's just a comfy fit. So as I was wearing this watch, every once in a while I would just kind of start glancing down at my wrist, completely distracted from the task at hand, guys. It's one of those. It's one of those. And also I got strangely addicted to winding this watch. I don't know, just the crown shape, it's just perfect for winding. It's easy. I don't know, that's weird, right? It's kind of weird. By the way, guys, if you are enjoying this content, give the video a like, comment, share your thoughts, subscribe. It really does help the channel out. Thanks for supporting, guys. Now let's talk about the wardrobe combination, which I gave a 4.5 out of 5 for this watch. This is such an important category for daily drivers, guys, because it's a watch that you're gonna have to pair with whatever outfit you got going on. It's your daily driver. In terms of formality, obviously, this watch is more on the dressy side, looks great with any suit, looks amazing with business casual outfits for the office. Even if it's something as simple as a t-shirt and shorts, I think it's gonna elevate the outfit, but not all outfits. Okay, it doesn't look cool with a hoodie. For that, I'd probably go with like a Casio or something more casual, but overall, great versatility here. Okay, and then up next is the wear and tear category, or as I like to call it, the baby driver score. Every watch is prone to wear and tear, guys. Starting from 0 all the way to -5. The more points it gets, the more delicate and the more we subtract from the overall score. That's what makes your daily driver a baby driver driver, because you got to baby it around a little bit. You don't want to scratch it up. You want to keep it nice. You know, it's just something you're hyper aware of your wrist of. So I'm scoring this watch at a -3. You're definitely going to be conscious of your wrist as you wear this watch. It's just such a beautiful watch, guys. You deep down in your heart, you just kind of want it to stay as pristine as possible. So, you know, lots of high polished areas mixed in with the fact that you don't have a sapphire crystal, you have 50-meter water resistance. I mean, it's a dress watch, guys. It's a dress watch, but this is a daily driver test. We're testing for all around robustness. All right, now guys, let's go over the movement. This watch is sporting the Seiko 4R35 movement. When Seiko decided to bring the Cocktail Time concept to a global audience under the PRESAGE line, it switched from the 6R15 movement, which was like kind of like a grail movement at the time. I was really giving you lots of bang for your buck in those days, but now they switched it to the 4R35. I mean, these are still solid, reliable in-house movements from Seiko. So for accuracy, I gave this watch a 4 out of 5. That's pretty good. I was clocking in this Seiko at about plus 10 seconds per day. So that's not too bad considering that the 4R35 specs are -35 to plus 45 seconds per day, which is ridiculous. It means you might have to adjust the time by a minute or two. I think I was adjusting mine about like once a week. It took a week to be a minute off, maybe less, I don't know. But anyway, it's perfectly acceptable for anything outside of a precision tool watch. For reliability, I gave this watch a 4 out of 5. Really just consistent performance here. It doesn't suddenly jump around wildly. It maintains that steady rate of plus 10 seconds per day. So predictability, it's a huge win for a daily driver watch. It means you can trust it to keep you on time for your daily commute without worrying about accuracy. So, you know, while it might not be a top tier movement in terms of high horology, what you're getting with the 4R35, it's a true workhorse. It's dependable, it's robust. I mean, consistently performing above those terrible specs. It's exactly what you want in a beautiful everyday watch like the Cocktail Time. And as far as complications go, 4 out of 5. Pretty good, pretty good. Has a date, and for me, that's a must on a daily driver. Hacking, hand winding, and a 41-hour power reserve. Pretty good for a daily driver. I was putting it away like Friday evening, picking it back up Sunday morning, and it was still pretty good. Gave it a nice little wind. Good to go. Okay, and finally, let's move on to the legibility. First up, is this watch an easy reader? I mean, I would say yes. I gave it a 3.8 out of 5. The domed crystal does give off a little bit of glare depending on what kind of lighting conditions you're in, but for the most part, I found this watch to be decently legible. Probably what would trip you up the most is just the intricate pattern of the dial, and I guess depending on what model you have, maybe just the contrast of indices against that pale blue color that it has. You know how many of us travel through, you know, dark alleys. No. If you're taking a quick trip through like a dark alley, you know, or stumbling upon your favorite dimly lit restaurant, I think that you're going to want more ambient lighting so that you can see those indices. Since the hands are so reflective though, it does offer some relief, so that's why I'm giving it a 1 out of 5. Okay, now let's total all these scores and add them up, and we will start from the strongest point to the weakest point of this watch. First up is going to be the design. 26.4 out of 30 with a staggering 88%. Dial is simply incredible, full of unique texture, fascinating to look at, and it has kind of a cool backstory. I mean, it was designed by a bartender. You know, you have this pairing with this classic case, great finishing for the price. Design is clearly this watch's powerhouse. Next, the movement, 24 out of 30, a solid 80%. 4R35 from Seiko is a true workhorse caliber. It's not a high-end movement here, but it is dependable and you can count on it for daily use. For wear experience, third place, 14.5 out of 20 for a 73% 43%. Super comfortable on the wrist here. Honestly, the main deduction is just for the stock strap. For the price, it's functional, but definitely the first thing that you're gonna have to upgrade on this watch. And finally, guys, we have the legibility in last place with a 9.6 out of 20, just 48%. Look, while I personally haven't had major issues here with glare, the lack of lume, it means it's not a watch for every single environment. That's fine. It's a design choice for aesthetics, and it's just not for ultimate readability. You know, you give and take. This is a daily driver test. So adding it all up here, Seiko PRESAGE Cocktail Time delivers a daily driver score of 74.5. That's pretty solid. I think anything above a 70 is a very solid daily driver. This is punching way above its weight class, especially for that design and beautiful aesthetics that you're getting. I mean, this is definitely one of the best value dress watches on the market today, in my opinion. Great design, great movement for a dress watch. I mean, what more do you want? I mean, all right, well, what more do I want? I would have liked some lume pips, probably just 4. I think that would have been interesting to see. No date would also be interesting to see. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, guys, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more. And as always, I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye.